point in time, some point in time, is going to be expendable. We didn't come here to stay. And so when you don't, when you are uncertain and intimidated about who you are, then you try to make people see you different than where you really are. And you don't want to have to define yourself. I've seen people do it. They get in so much debt trying to look a certain way, trying to. I saw a portion of a show, and it's called Nip Tuck or something like that. I watched a portion of it, and one of the things that when a person came to these plastic surgeons, when they came to them, one of the first questions they asked them is, what about yourself you don't like? And why do you want to change that? And if you focus so much on what you don't like, nobody is perfect. I mean, you know, you're going to, you got to accept time. You have to accept aging. You have to accept what your body changes are. You know, you do what you can to help yourself. And if you can change it as far as your body image, well, change what you can. But until you get it changed, just do the best you can with what you have. Y'all see what I'm saying? So many people are so unhealthy, unhappy with themselves because they beat themselves up so badly. And if you tell yourself terrible stuff, don't be mad when other people tell you that. And if you're going to call yourself dumb and ugly and this, that, and the other, then don't get offended when somebody else call you that because they're in agreement with you. No, I'm not going to do that. God made me the way I am, and I'm different. Every one of us are different. And let's just focus on that. And you set your boundaries with where you are, not where you wish you were. Y'all, can you get the difference? And so if you don't allow boundaries in your life, and then people run you over and you run your own self over. But boundaries, you need to be clear and concise and without apologies. You need to manage and negotiate your own expectations. Manage them and negotiate your own expectations. Change them. Sometimes your expectation is high, sometimes it's low, sometimes it's flat. Then you manage that for your own comfort level. And then boundaries protect us, our personal self, our mental health space, and that it becomes like fences, you know, like a fence between your houses, so that there's no bleeding over on property lines. You know where your property line is. You know where your self-assurance and where your peace is. And then stay within those lines and don't let anybody push you past. And because your boundaries, they involve your physical and emotional limits of appropriate behavior between people, and it helps define where one person ends and the other begins. Mm-hmm. People typically learn boundaries during the childhood and within your family of origin. Mm-hmm. You know, you learn, your parents will tell you what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Right now we have, in our society, we have a lot of boundaryless people. They just think that because this is what they want, they just bulldoze over you. But we have the right. I have a right to set boundaries. We all have rights to set our own boundaries, because not, folks will push you past your belief, push you out of your conviction, and you'll be trying to agree with everybody. You can't agree with everybody. Not if you value your level of conviction. You just can't. Okay, so there are three basic types of boundaries. Clear boundaries. Those are the best. That's the best kind. Clear boundaries, you clearly state them. They are flexible and adaptable. This is warmth. There is warmth and support and stability within the family, where each person is able to be assertive, communicate their needs, and develop individual interests. You don't, we don't live cookie cutter lives. And where there are clear boundaries within a household, then you clearly state it to your children, this is acceptable and this is not acceptable. And then we explain why, and then listen to each other. Don't just say, that's what I said, that's what I mean. Well, explain why. And I learned that early. Explain why. And if you explain why, your children will understand it better, and you will understand things better. So be clear and be concise in setting boundaries within your family of origin. And that way people can develop their own interests and their needs. Their psychological and emotional needs can be met. They can grow up in that thing that is important to them within the boundaries in which you allow as a parent. Then there are rigid boundaries, and they are closed and inflexible, much like a wall that doesn't let anything in or out. And there's less engagement in rigid boundaries and more isolation, both within the family and in the outside world. It may be more challenging for families to communicate needs and express individuality if the boundaries within your household are too rigid. And the things that our children are growing up in and what they like, find out what they like. Find out where they find their joy in. And then train them up in the way that they should go in that. And don't allow them to be frustrated or go out just wild without any direction. And my daughter let me, I'll use her as an example. See, that's my only child. I have to use her. But early, when she was very young, we knew that music was her love. We knew it. And so we got her in music lessons early. And we bought her things that she liked regarding music from a little girl. And then, and everybody that know her know that she is a choir. She loved choirs and choir singing and directing, and she's excellent in it. And she started doing that when she was a little girl. I mean, barely walking. And it has grown up in her. Now, if I had not allowed her the freedom to express her love for music, this girl was in all kinds of bands growing up because she was excellent in playing the clarinet. A lot of people don't know that, but this girl could play a clarinet for real. She got scholarships for playing her clarinet. But Lori was in different bands, not just church. She was in prep bands. She was in orchestras. And so she got an opportunity to express her musical prowess in plenty of areas of genre of music. That helped her. And so what we do, we went to her concerts. Yeah, we listened to her, and I was very careful about that because my daughter has a tremendous ear, and from a child, I noticed it before her music teacher did. She would say, "Mommy, you know this song?" I said, "Yeah." And so she said, "Sing it or hum it," and I would do it, and she would play just what I sung or hummed. And then I caught it. I said, because I could read music. And I said, "Now read it, read your music and go." And she would play just what I said. And then I started doing it wrong. But she played it just like I did. And I told her music teacher, I said, "Lori's not reading. Lori has a tremendous ear. And so she's not reading. She don't know those notes." And she'd been taking music for about 3-4 months before I told the music teacher, I said, "Lord don't know, but she don't know the notes." And so the Lord blessed me. I got a blackboard, remember?
Yep.
I got a blackboard, put it up downstairs in the basement, did lines and spaces, and taught her music notes.
Sure did.
And but we wanted to see her excel in it, and absolutely she did. So and she still got a whole lot of music still chalked down in her. But what I'm saying is, you establish boundaries in your household where those who have certain talents or needs, you give them space with boundaries to encourage them to develop and go forth in it. Okay, and so you don't want to be too rigid. If you're too rigid, then you kill that desire in them. So don't be too rigid. Yeah.
And you know what? You'll kill that desire in them, but they will have a hole in them.
Yes. Yeah.
It will always be something that it'll always be a void, because sometimes that's what they were born to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so thank you, Lori. That's very true. And so we have to be careful about that, and so not let our boundaries be too rigid when it comes to that. Also, and there are open boundaries, and those are fuzzy and loose. It may be hard for individual family members to have their needs met. Families with open boundaries may be enmeshed and exhibit more codependency traits. And so it's important, even growing up, that you'll say no and let your no be no, and let them live their consequences. So that they learn how to stay within boundaries, and then they learn how to set boundaries themselves. And you teach young children, Lord, especially in this society. I've seen children, and I just hate it, but it's true. You can't allow children to be real friendly with strangers, going up, hugging strangers, and doing stuff like that. You have to teach them that that's not acceptable in this society now. You wait and let mommy or daddy or aunt or uncle or whoever introduce that person to you, and then you allow them to move within the acceptable boundaries. You just don't let your children barrel in on people. That, I mean, really, it'll get them in trouble later. And so there are healthy boundaries. And so let's talk about that.
Stranger danger.
Yeah. Healthy boundaries allow each person in a relationship or family to communicate their wants and needs while also respecting the wants and needs of others. And so you want to be able to communicate what you like, what you don't like, what you want, what makes you comfortable, what makes you uncomfortable. We need to be, those are healthy boundaries. You set those boundaries. I don't, you don't care for folks just running up on you. And all of us have space. You got your own space.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like folks just coming all up in your face. And that was even way before COVID. You have a box. That's
Mm-hmm.
your own personal space.
Mm-hmm.
And unless I invite you in, you don't come in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you reach forth to a person and they back up, that's a cue.
Mm-hmm.
That's a clue to you. Oh, I'm coming in too close on them. And some people actually put their hands up.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know what I do. I step back. If I'm not in a closed up place, or if I'm in a closed up place, I might would put my hands out, because everybody have their own personal space. I had a very good friend, Lord have mercy. I had to teach her my personal boundaries. And we that's when we were young and everything. But she just want to get right in your face. I said, girl, get back. You're too close to me. I can hear you without you getting, you too close when, anyway, you just say no. You want to set open boundaries. Are y'all following me?
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to say no and accept it when someone else says no. If I tell you no, I'm not comfortable, or no, I can't do that right now. No, I'm busy at this particular time, or no, that's not a good place for me to go. Then you have to, just like you want people to honor your boundaries, you have to learn how to accept other people's boundaries. And so if they say no, I'm like that. Some people get so offended if somebody have an event, a birthday party or a dinner or something, and they're not invited. It does not offend me at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because I've got the same right. And I don't do it, you don't have to be retaliatory, but everybody has the same right to invite who they want. And they don't even have to be, it's nothing for you to get upset about. That's who they wanted there. Or that's how much they can afford, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Never get upset over stuff like that. Folks have their own boundaries, and what they want to do with their own space, their own events, that's them. And each one of us have the same opportunity to exercise those same rights. You see, did you have something you want to say about that? Okay, so we have to be able to clearly communicate both our wants and our needs. And that's very important. I don't want that. This is what I need. And in the years that I worked with married couples, that was one of the worst things. That was one of the things that could really ruin a relationship, is that they didn't fulfill each other's wants or needs. And I'm not talking about just sexually. I'm just talking about in a healthy relationship. And so you have to clearly communicate. This is what makes me happy, or this is what I can do, and this is what I can't do. And sometimes you don't have to explain your why. If it's something that you've said, no, that's not going to work for me, then it won't. And we don't have to go through no long discourse. And then I don't expect no long discourse from you. If you say no, I accept that. You see? And so honoring and respecting their own needs and the needs of others is a healthy thing. That's healthy in setting boundaries. And respect others' values and beliefs, and know that they're different than your own. Folks have different beliefs and all of that. Now, as people of God, we offer salvation to folks, but if they don't want to receive it, then I'm not going to fall out with you. We just know that we have different values and different beliefs. And so don't you try to pull me off of mine. And so it's very important. I worked at a place one time, and this man was of a certain belief, and he was, just making me. I started to feel uncomfortable because he was always trying to push me past or show holes in what I believe and what I thought. And so I said to him, I said, you know what, if we're going to be colleagues and if we're going to work peaceably together, you have to stop that. Same thing with politics. I don't talk politics to folks that I work with and stuff. Child, y'all fall out quick. Not with my neighbors, nobody. Nope. We don't talk politics. Because people get really angry with you about it. And so the best thing to do is you draw a line on what y'all will talk about and what you won't. And when you do that, you can pretty much live peaceably with just about anybody. And so you respect thank you so much. Who is that sent me my hearts? I appreciate for hearts. It makes me feel like I'm being hugged. Thank you so much.
Cynthia said she don't talk politics with her family either.
No.
You gotta know who's who.
You gotta know. And feeling free to disclose and share information where it's appropriate. You don't have to tell everybody everything. But you can feel free to say what you feel like is appropriate to say. And if you just go too far overboard, you can make people very uncomfortable. And you don't have to let people make you feel uncomfortable. Okay? And so make sure that your boundaries are flexible, but don't compromise yourself in an unhealthy way. So it's good to be flexible without compromise. I'll go so far with you, but if it's going to compromise who I am, my belief, my faith, or just me as a woman of God, or as just a person, no, I'm not, so you've got to be flexible enough and adaptive enough so that, no, y'all go ahead. I'm not going to be a part of that. And I'm not mad at you. And if you get upset, you just got to get over it. Because you have that right to set your own boundaries. You're right, Brenda. Draw a line that you will, and there are things that you will and will not talk about. Draw a line. There are some things you will and will not do. And don't try to bully me into doing it.
Right.
If you got a line to draw, then listen, that's my boundary. And you can't bleed out of it. I'm not going to allow that. And it's okay. It's all right. But some unhealthy boundaries is where there are that you don't feel safe in your relationship. You'll find yourself compromising all the time. And this will lead to dysfunction in your relationship where people's needs are not being met. And if you always got to be the one, to give in to somebody else, to not, and just allow them to just kind of push you back from who you are, then you establish some clear boundaries and say, that's not going to work right here. And we don't have to argue about it. It's just not going to work. And if you find yourself having a difficult time saying no, and do you know, as people of God and just as women, many times we want to be such a help. We are so nurturing, and we find ourselves having a difficult time saying no, and folks don't expect us to say no. But we have to become acquainted with that word, because if it's going to push you and bring you to a place of compromise, then no is your answer. I hope you all are getting me. And if you have, um, and just like you can say no, then you've got to learn how to accept no from others. You can't just have it all your way. And if another person tell you no, that's their no. And so you just figure out something else. Um, and you need to clearly communicate what you mean. And clear communication is so important in every kind of relationship. And in the church and in our friendships, clear communication is so important, so that we know what I said to you, and that's what I mean. But if you're unclear, people can get it wrong. Haven't you had that to happen to you? You know you meant to say it this way, but it came out another way and everything went south. And you find yourself, oh, that's not what I meant at all. Hey, Roxy, good to see you. Um, and don't be easy to compromise your personal values, your beliefs, and your opinions just to satisfy others. And in this day, I call this a day of intimidation. Folk try to intimidate you and back you off of your beliefs, back you off of what is comfortable for you. This is that day of intimidation. I think that's one of the reasons why this came to me so clearly, because of something I saw. I said, no, we need to learn how to set boundaries and not allow somebody else to push us past who we are. And people being manipulative to get others to do something they don't want to do, that's unhealthy. And that kind of stuff can lead to a very toxic relationship. I mean, where you look at them and say, oh, and you find fear when another person come in the room. Oh, they're going to try to get me to do this. They're going to try to make me do that. Honey, you haven't set your boundaries good. And you haven't communicated them clearly. And then you have not stood in your own self-definition. No. One of the things y'all laugh at me about when I said, not today, Cletus, that ain't happening. We're not going there. And you can't intimidate me into doing what is outside of my boundary. And when we have loose and fuzzy boundaries, you're going to find yourself getting burnout quick. You'll just have burnout. And the thing that you used to enjoy, you wind up hating because you don't know how to say, I can't do that today. No, I can't come. No, I won't be able to do that. I have other things planned. And you don't have to even explain it. That other thing might be, today is my off day. I'm resting today. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And when I say my off day, I'm not meaning that you play hooky from work just for nothing. But I'm saying that you just decide, even in your interpersonal relationships, no, I'm not coming. No, I can't do that. And we can set it up another time. And then don't let people push you past that. Not too often now. I know sometimes if their need appears to be urgent, and you can look at it and see if it's urgent. And sometimes you get tricked
Mm-hmm.
I got to do this is it. And then you find yourself letting go what your plans are to go and attend to that need. And then you look at it and say, oh,
Mm.
this was a cry wolf. Next time,
Mm-hmm.
I got to do this. Well, I can't do it. Find somebody else. And it's a dangerous thing to do because sometimes you might really need it. So unhealthy boundaries can quickly turn into abuse.
Mm-hmm.
If you have unhealthy boundaries, it can turn to abuse, whether that's physical, sexual, or emotional. It's a violation of boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to remember that. People who have been abused as children may not know what healthy boundaries look like. And they often grow up with a lack of control over their own personal and physical boundaries. And they develop a pattern of repeat with abusive relationships. And that can be just a friendship. Your friendship becomes toxic. It's time to take a break and say no. Especially if you feel like that person's trying to take you over. Set boundaries. And when unhealthy boundaries become abusive, the people they violate your physical safety. They exert excessive control of your life. They constantly scare you and intimidate you into doing, acting, or saying in a certain way. They are hyper controlling and prevent you from doing reasonable things that you would like to do. They want you to do what they want to do without being reciprocal.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good. And they'll force you to do things that you don't want to do. That's very unhealthy, and it becomes abusive. Okay, what time is it? Okay, I'm going to stop right here tonight, and we're going to pick up next Tuesday. We're going to talk about the types of boundaries. We're going to talk about how to set them up. We'll give you some specifics. And if you have any questions, email them, romanithas@gmail.com. Email them to me and we will deal with them. I'm going to talk about setting emotional boundaries, financial boundaries, even with yourself, time boundaries. And we're going to talk about the benefits of setting those boundaries and how to do it and how to resist being pushed past who you are. And if you have questions, remember, email them, romanithas@gmail.com, and we will address those. Um, and you have to be sure that you don't let yourself get carried away. I see that, Cynthia, that you get you carried away being a people pleaser. You can't do that. You have to have boundaries, because if you're a people pleaser, you don't have no boundaries. You're just here, there, here, there, here, there, here, there, and you find yourself accommodating others and nobody accommodating you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that you have found out, Cynthia, that there's a better way to live. Well, God bless you tonight, and I pray that what we've been able to accomplish has been helpful. Hello, Angie, and hi, Supervisor Vicky, Supervisor over Hawaii. We've been friends ever since Lord was 9 years old. It's so good to
9
see.
months.
9 months old. Yeah. Okay, so
Nikia Lewis says she's just learning boundaries at 36. The biggest boundaries I face is when it comes to help. All help isn't good help. I'm actively learning to wait on God for my help. mentally, spiritually, financially.
Yes, that's really good because it doesn't matter how old you are. It's not too late to set boundaries. And once you learn how to do them, aren't you more comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn how to comfortably be and how to be comfortable even in your own skin. And you set your own boundaries. Talk to your own self and live within your own self definition. And then allow the word of God so that stuff and things and sin and people should not have dominion over us. We can live a really wonderfully free life in Christ Jesus and in righteousness without allowing all of that dominion and dominant stuff and forcing people to do this, that, or the other. That's not it. That's not it. And so you can learn that at any age. And once you do, you find out, wow, this is a good way to live.
Mm-hmm.
Father God, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for giving us this opportunity tonight. And I thank you for these, oh God, who are on tonight. And I'm asking you if you will give help and strength. Show us, oh God, the importance of setting boundaries. Help us, oh God, to learn how to live within the space in which you have provided for us, and that we can enjoy our life without allowing others to impede the freedom that you have provided for us. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Don't forget the Midnight Cry. Our dial-in number and passcode is on the screen. God bless you until we meet again. This is our 90th week of Midnight Cry. And I'm telling you, the Lord does manifest himself. Send me your questions, as it relates to this, and we'll deal with them. And thank you all so much. Yeah, Vicky said this, so true, that boundaries give you freedom to be free. That's really the truth. Yes, yes. And nobody likes being a doormat. You're so right. And so tonight, hopefully, this has helped some of us to learn how to set boundaries. And next week, we will deal with it a little bit deeper and hopefully can tie it up, and we'll find ourselves freer. Don't forget to send in your questions. God bless you. Until next week. Talk to you. Bye.
You're not on. Okay.